Welcome to SI Now, and pour a little out for your bracket if you had Arizona. I'm guessing it would be beer today since it's 3:16. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Matt Ufford. And Matt, I think there might need to be an FBI investigation into whatever Arizona was doing last night as they got absolutely waxed in embarrassing fashion by Buffalo, 89-68 in a 13-4 upset.
Yeah, man, the Pac-12 is treating the NCAA tourney like it's a bunch of bowl games. I don't know what's going on. It's just a completely... I don't know. I didn't fill out a bracket, thank God. But if I did, I think that I would have had Arizona go into the Elite Eight, Final Four.
And I think that was a very trendy pick in general, especially after the DeAndre Hunter injury with Virginia. Some people just don't want to pick Virginia because, you know, of past failures and the like. But when they saw that injury and you see DeAndre Ayton and all the hype around him, you immediately go, you know, wow, they could make it all the way. Shout out to Buffalo, though. They played very, very well in that game, and their guards were super impressive. Harris and Clark were tremendous.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard this before, but guard play matters in the NCAA tournament. We talked yesterday about how the NCAA tournament doesn't determine a future pro's success, but it can affect draft stock. Now, DeAndre Ayton has already declared for the draft. So, Robin, did he cost himself the first overall pick in this spring's draft?
I don't want to go that far, and I don't want to be super hypocritical because I did say I don't think the tournament performance directly impacts a stock. However, there were a few warning signs with Ayton's play. First, I want to criticize the coach because I don't know what they were doing last night. They ran no off-ball movement, nothing to get him involved in the action. It was like they were trying to rely on a size advantage and just lob it inside every time, and Buffalo totally took that away. But some of it has to go on Ayton as well. And the things that stand out to me as concerns, motor. He didn't just go and get offensive rebounds and dominate with his physicality. And two, lateral quickness. You know, you can learn how to do certain things on defense, but the first thing I look for in a big man prospect nowadays is that lateral quickness because of the way you have to navigate screens and pick and rolls and switch out into guards in today's NBA. So either Ayton had an inexplicably just kind of bad game, or those are things you have to monitor that might knock his prospects down a little bit. He's not Jahlil Okafor in the way his feet are stuck on the court, but it was a little bit of, you know, you're supposed to be the best player in this tournament, the #1 overall draft pick in the NBA. You could do more in that game.
Yeah, for sure. Lateral quickness, though. Hey, do you really need it in the NBA? I don't know.
Just a little bit. Another talked about NBA prospect was eliminated in his first game as well. But Trey Young had a much stronger performance, scoring 28 in Oklahoma's loss to Rhode Island. Now, his father, after the game, said that he wants Trey to consider going back to Oklahoma. Is that something you think he should do?
Heavens no. Why do a job for free when you can get paid millions of dollars to do it? Now, there is a recent example of a guard going back to school to improve his draft stock, Steph Curry. Now, but that was a very specific skill set that he was looking to develop. He was viewed as undersized and just a shooter. Steph Curry went back to school to develop as a point guard and, you know, went to a lot of camps with pro players and became a more astute ball handler, a guy who saw vision. He had a specific reason for going back because he didn't have, despite a star performance in the tournament, was just kind of seen as like, J.J. Redick. Now, because he did that, he is 2 times MVP, Steph Curry. I don't think that Trey Young is the same sort of example. Don't risk your health. Don't risk your possibility, your long-term future playing for free. Go get that money. If you get drafted 5th instead of 3rd, who cares?
The reason you come out is because of Steph Curry. I mean, when Steph Curry was playing, there was still the doubts. But Steph Curry erased all those doubts with his style of play and even changed the game a little bit. Where I saw people trying to criticize some of Young's shot selection. Well, you know, it's not a bad shot. It's only a bad shot in theory. It's not necessarily a bad shot in practice if you're making those 35-foot threes with some consistency. Now, I'm not saying he's Steph Curry. Far from it. Steph is just a marvelous all-around player. But because Steph proved that you can play that style, I think it helped Young's status this year. And the only thing he can do is hurt his status by going back next year. I don't think he elevates himself higher in the draft. I think he can only lower himself in the draft. And Kenyatta Muhammad sends in a comment saying Marcus Smart went back and ruined his stock. And I think it's not just about the money and the injury, which are factors. It's also he's hot right now, and he's not going to get hotter.
No, if you're already a top 5 draft pick, don't go back to school. Don't risk getting injured and or even just not having the same level of play. Go Go be a professional. Get that money.
Yeah, I've seen mock drafts, though, having him go to the Knicks, and maybe that's why there's a little bit of concern. There's been a lot of player movement and signings this NFL offseason, but one player who has yet to find a team is safety Eric Reid, the first player, of course, to kneel alongside Colin Kaepernick, who took to Twitter to indicate that his job status might be impacted by that. Do you think that's the reason he doesn't have a team?
Ooh, boy. Now, there are still some high-profile free agents out there. Ndamukong Suh, Sheldon Richardson, even in the safety market, Earl Thomas is on the trading block, Tyrann Mathieu available. So I don't want to jump to conclusions. However, having seen what we've seen with what happened with Colin Kaepernick over the last year, and given the lack of buzz about Eric Reid, former first-round pick, has some versatility, can play as a linebacker, strong safety, and those hybrid players have real value in the NFL right now. Yes, he has a history of concussions, but just the lack of buzz and the fact I no longer have faith that there's any sort of willingness of NFL owners to just sign the best players when we now have a track record of, if you're going to be in any way controversial in a way that disagrees with the values of NFL owners, then you're just not going to play in the NFL.
And speaking of Kaepernick, you see him throwing right there. He clearly wants it to be known he still wants to play in the NFL. And, you know, it became sort of an unfortunately moot point to keep bringing up Kaepernick every time some random dude got paid at the quarterback position. And it shouldn't be the case, right? These NFL owners and NFL leadership, they should be ashamed of themselves for what's going on with Colin Kaepernick, because this is somebody who did nothing objectively wrong. This is someone who peacefully protested and clearly has the ability to play in the NFL. And there's no other way to look at it than he is being blackballed from the NFL. And I don't think he is ever going to get another chance to play in the NFL. And it's a shame.
No, he's not. And you know what? You said the owners should be ashamed. That is an assumption that those billionaires can feel shame. And I think that's clear that they cannot. It's a travesty. Now, over in the NBA, let's move on.
It's always a tough transition between...
You know, there's just a hard stop. We're moving on. Over in the NBA, LeBron James had another big night, but Cavs lost to Blazers team in a close one. Afterwards, Bron gave some love to an underappreciated teammate, saying, "It's been a long time since I haven't played with another all-star on my team, so having Kev out has been challenging for us all." Robin, are we going to live in a world where Kevin Love is seen as a vital component of a winning team?
We're there right now, I believe. The bromance between Kevin Love and LeBron James has been burgeoning all year, where they've been like congratulating each other on Twitter. But I think if you were to ask Kevin Love in private, obviously he was a part of a championship team, and you never want to give that back. This may have been his most rewarding season despite all the turmoil with the Cavs, because his usage just went up naturally. Kyrie Irving out of the lineup, those touches are going to go to Kevin Love. When Isaiah Thomas came back, that probably was part of the strife there. Those touches went away from Kevin Love, away from LeBron, and to Isaiah. Now LeBron's looking for somebody to help him out when the double comes, or if they get a mismatch, you can give it to Kevin Love. So I think it's sort of similar to what happened to Chris Bosh, where in order to adjust, you have to take your role and adapt a little bit, and Love became more of a spot-up shooter. But given the current constructs of the Cavs roster, they really need Kevin Love, and that has made him appreciated.
Yeah, and Kevin Love, of course, also leading the way on mental health issues now, too. So it's the year of Kevin Love, even if he's not on the court right now.
Now, LeBron may be without another All-Star right now, but a future All-Star was on display last night in Ben Simmons, who is our adrenaline performer presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Simmons notched his 8th triple-double of the season with 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists in a win over the Knicks, and in the process became just the 3rd rookie in NBA history to tally at least 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 500 assists in a season, joining distinguished company in Oscar Robertson and Magic Johnson. I'm joined now by Metta World Peace, who is here to discuss his new autobiography, No Malice, out May 15th. The Panda's friend and Gradello as well. He's got the Panda gear on right now. We'll get to all that. But Metta, your former teammate, Kobe Bryant, won an Oscar recently. I'm interested to know, did you reach out to him, call him, text him, say congrats, anything like that?
I didn't reach out. I might have texted him, but Kobe's doing so many amazing things. I've been to Kobe's office. I've seen the stuff that he's working on. Kobe's a great writer, obviously super competitive. So I'm not surprised that he won an Oscar, because if you go to his office and you see the stuff that he's working on, you're going to see more awards from Kobe.
And now, in your playing career, obviously, when you think Oscars, you think acting. Who's the best actor on the court you've ever seen?
The best actor on the court? Oh, wow. Well, LeBron flopped a couple times. I don't know. A lot of the young guys, just everybody that came in after 2005.
Your autobiography is called No Malice. How much do you think you're still associated with that incident?
I absolutely associated. It's on YouTube. You can find it. Go run our test to brawl in the search engine. You'll find it. So absolutely, I'm associated with it. And we're doing a book, and it's called No Malice. So that associates it with me. And then see Phil Jackson there with the forward. Thank you, Phil. It was a part of my career in the prime of my career. I wasn't quite able to show everybody in the prime what I can do. That year would have been a really good year, superstar year. I was doing tons of commercials, and I was so good. But it happened, and I'm fine with it.
You don't hear people talk about it so much. How do you reflect on it now? What do you think about it right now at this moment?
Well, for me, I don't really think about it. Like, for example, this book, they wanted to do a book on me and call it Malice. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. People want to interview and talk about it. Okay, fine, let's talk about it. For me personally, I don't go around talking about the brawl, but the only thing I do talk about is the year. There's a couple things that interest me about the brawl. One, the year I was averaging 18 the year before, and then I finished 6th in MVP voting, took home Defensive Player of the Year, and was third team All-NBA and an All-Star. So now that's a trajectory for a path or a career path that's taken off. Then the next year I was averaging 24. First 7 games, came out on fire, and I thought I was going to put myself in position for MVP. That's all I wanted, but at the same time, things happened in my life on the court in Detroit. And I always wondered what would have happened that season. More TV time, which I love TV, lots of big games, lots of wins, all-star, everything. I probably would have been all-star with LeBron on the same team, fighting for a starting spot because he wasn't a starter yet. So I'm like so excited when I think about that year and where I could have been. Not many people can say they could have got MVP and can still potentially make the Hall of Fame, but would have been a definite lock for the Hall of Fame, if their career would have went a different way. So it makes me happy.
You think you have a chance of making the Hall of Fame?
I have a chance because the reason I have a chance because one of the best wing defenders to play in the NBA. That's my argument.
Do you still think, you just talked about LeBron, you still think you could go out there and maybe lock down LeBron?
Well, I'm not going to say lock him down, but if I was to get ready and prepare for an NBA season, it would take me 6 months. At this point, I can still prepare for a season, but it doesn't look like I will have to be prepared for a season. But if somebody was to say, hey, we would like you in our locker room, then I would prepare.
All right, a couple of your own endeavors right now. Tell us a little bit about the Pandas Friend, which I see you wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah, so the Pandas Friend, it came from the love of pandas that my daughter had, the love for pandas my daughter has. And I had my own brand. I had the Artist brand. I had the Metta World Peace. And I said, I want to be closer to my family. So I decided to take what she loves and what I love to do, put it into one so I could be closer to my family at all times. I raised money when I raffled off my championship ring. I raised $700,000, gave all the money away. But then when I started to try to raise more money for my foundation, it was hard. So I said I have to build my own business so I can give back. And that's what I'm doing.
And real quick on the Gradello app, I understand it's a way for users to market themselves?
Yeah, Gradello, my tech company. I was an architect major in St. John's, a math major. It didn't seem like that when I played. But I wanted to give back. I love basketball, and I love math. So I figured, what can I do after my career? And I started doing this 5 years ago, actually. I've been working on this for 4 years. And I said, what can I do? So I put it all into an app. So we give athletes and celebrities a platform to monetize their brand like no other. That's with our website division. And then with the app division, it's just a way to connect the athletes with their followers in an athletic way, with basketball camps, games, interaction. Then also we target kids who need access. We also target homeless teens through our platform. And we're currently building. We're in the baby stage. We're raising money right now, which is going very well. And anybody that would love to support Cordello, just follow us and stay updated as much as possible. And I definitely appreciate you asking me about that on your show.
All right, Metta, appreciate your time this afternoon. Good luck with everything you got going on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm here with Grant Wall to talk about Champions League quarterfinal selection. Grant, in addition to being the star soccer reporter for Sports Illustrated, also the host of Planet Football on SITV. Make sure to check out the show and a bunch of other great content on Amazon Prime Video. Now, Grant, a lot to break down. Liverpool-Manchester City is one of the matches, but what really draws my eye, Real Madrid-Juventus, rematch of last year's final, seems to be the biggest match on paper, but tactically, are these the same teams that faced off in the final last year? Because Real Madrid won in a walk.
Yeah, this isn't the same Real Madrid team. They've lost some players, but also they're just not having as good of a season. They're going to barely qualify for Champions League in La Liga. And they did get a shot in the arm, I think, by beating PSG in the round of 16. But I'm also hearing now people saying, oh, because they did that, they're the favorites to win Champions League. That's crazy to me. Real Madrid is not as good a team this year. Cristiano Ronaldo is not having as good of a season, though he started to heat up lately. I think, actually, there's no reason that Juventus can't win this game. In fact, I think to say it would be an upset for Juventus to beat Real Madrid is kind of crazy to me. Juventus is atop the league in Italy. They've been in good form lately. They had to struggle a little bit to get past Spurs in the last round, but I'm going to go ahead and my upset pick here and pick Juventus.
Yeah, they certainly have the history, recent history in Champions League of being able to get out those big victories. Now, this is also Real Madrid's second difficult test after beating French giants PSG last round. Meanwhile, Bayern coasted past Besiktas and now get another relatively low hurdle in drawing Sevilla. Should UEFA tweak its format for creating matchups?
I do get a little bummed out when we get really marquee matchups like Real Madrid PSG in the round of 16 and then some punk matchups and other situations with the draw. But for the round of 16, that was actually reflective of performances in the group stage. First place teams from groups played second place teams from groups, and Besiktas was a first place team, Bayern was a second place team, and what do? It's a tougher one for the quarterfinal draw because there's no restrictions on any of it. Anybody can get anybody, and I kind of wish there was a way to seed maybe the top four and the bottom four so that you could avoid some situations that we're seeing here. But look, Bayern's had some years where they've gotten tough draws. This is an easier draw against Sevilla. I expect they'll advance.
Now, Liverpool-Manchester City is a Premier League battle that pits Jurgen Klopp against Pep Guardiola, two of the best managers in the world against each other. Two questions here. One, could it be possible that Man City are the favorites for the entire tournament? And could this possibly be a turning point for English teams in the Champions League?
Well, I think we've seen a storyline this year that English teams were doing much better in the group stage. You had 5 advance to the knockout rounds. Only 2 advance, though, to the quarterfinals, and maybe a little bit unfortunate for the English teams that they drew each other. As a fan and somebody who watches this sport, I can't wait to see Liverpool come up against Man City. Liverpool, the only team to beat Man City in the Premier League this year, so they know how to do it. I'm not totally sold on Liverpool's defending, and we've seen that.
I don't think Liverpool fans are sold on Liverpool's defending.
And so I think that could be a real problem here. Should City be one of the favorites for Champions League? Yeah, of course. I think along with Barcelona. I'm not going to include Real Madrid. I am going to include Bayern at this point. There's no reason that Pep Guardiola's team can't win Champions League. For me, they have been appointment viewing all season long, and that includes Europe.
Let's go ahead and focus now on some of the players. Leo Messi has 100 goals in 123 Champions League games. Cristiano Ronaldo, 117 in 148 games. Just absolutely preposterous scoring rates, especially when you consider that this is basically the toughest tournament in the world. Can we put away the Messi versus Ronaldo debate and just say, hey, these are the best 2 to play the game ever?
You know, I actually sort of enjoy the debate at times. It can get a little tedious occasionally, but For me, the separation is this. I think both players are amazing, and it's incredible how many years now they've been the best players in the world. Ask Ronaldinho how hard it is to be the world's best player for longer than a year or two. I think Messi is a genius, and I am pretty stringent with my use of the term genius. I don't know if I would call Ronaldo a genius. I think he's an amazing player, and I've loved seeing them go back and forth at each other over the years. If you saw Messi the other day against Chelsea, that was just an unbelievable classic Messi performance. Yeah. We've seen fewer of those recently from Cristiano Ronaldo, though you have to give him a ton of credit. They've won 2 of the last 3 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid. They've got a chance to win another one this season, despite not being at their best. In terms of best players of all time, I think Champions League is a much bigger sample size, a much better way of measuring the best players of all time, or the best players than the World Cup at this point. The level of play is much higher than it is in a World Cup. I think Lionel Messi, whether he wins a World Cup or not, is already the best player of all time. I don't think I would put Ronaldo quite up there, but I'd still put him in, the top 5 or 6.
Sure. Now, Ronaldo and Messi, their legacies are secure. But is there a star player entering the quarterfinalists that, soccer fans are already familiar with, but is in a position to break out into superstardom before the World Cup?
Well, in terms of a player, I would say Mohamed Salah is a guy who has had an amazing season for Liverpool. He's already eclipsed Luis Suarez's goal-scoring marks for Liverpool with this terrific season he's had. Mohamed Salah is legitimately one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world right now. He's been that good for this long. And so here's a guy who, if Liverpool could get past Man City, and it's certainly possible that could happen, Salah's going to be heavily involved in that. He's also going to be at the World Cup with Egypt in a group that I think they can actually make some noise from and then do something after that. This could still be Mohamed Salah's year in terms of this guy could end up being World Player of the Year. He's still got to do some stuff on the field, though.
Awesome. Grant, thanks for joining us. Champions League action picks back up on April 3rd. Make sure you're ready for it by following Grant on Twitter and by watching Planet Football on SITV. I've had a great time guest hosting SI Now this week, and I want to close the week out with some much-deserved props to Sister Jean of Loyola-Chicago, the 98-year-old nun who has been the team's chaplain since 1994. Get out of my face, Millie the Vikings fan. I've only got room in my heart for one Midwestern nonagenarian sports fan, and I'm going with the one with a direct line to God. And if God can't do enough, Sister Jean will. She actually gives scouting reports to the Loyola staff and players. I don't want to hear another word about Millie unless she's grinding tape while knitting. Millie, go hang out with that oversized loaf of white bread Goodell. My girl Sister Jean, she got a shout out from Obama. Look out, Michael Jordan and Mike Ditka. There's a new sports legend in Chicago.
I don't want to be filling out a bracket against Sister Jean. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about.
Oh, yeah, she absolutely does.
Yeah, she's got it down pat when it comes to this, getting some props from the former president. That'll do it for SI Now this week. We'll be back Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. But before we let you go, thanks to Matt Ufford for being here this week.
Had a great time.
We'll give a look at what you and everyone else should be checking out this weekend. It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive presented by Toyota. Let's go places. This week we are previewing some of the biggest games heading into the NCAA tournament weekend. Wichita State will square off against Marshall and Detroit. The Shockers have been underseeded in years past, but a move to the AAC has them as a 4 seed, which Coach Greg Marshall is pleased with.
For us, it helps us because we get an opportunity to play Cincinnati 2 or 3 times and Houston 2 or 3 times, and both of them are capable of making a Final Four run because of their toughness and their physicality.
Wichita State went 14-4 in their debut season in the AAC and look to find another Final Four run under Marshall. Next, we travel to Charlotte to see Creighton and Kansas State. The Blue Jays open as the favorite in this one. Sophomore guard Davion Mintz is from the Charlotte area and is excited that he will be playing in front of all his friends and family.
I'm just looking forward to winning in front of another home crowd for me. That's really the only thing that I was thinking about, because there's a lot of people back home that probably would never get the chance to see me play. because the way our schedule's set up and stuff. So just be able to win in front of the people that I know, that would be really fun.
The Blue Jays will have a tough matchup on their hands. K-State boasts a top 6 scoring defense. Finally, we travel to Nashville for a late game between Missouri and Florida State. All eyes will be on Tiger star prospect Michael Porter Jr., but Seminoles guard C.J. Walker knows that Mizzou's size will play a big role in their matchup.
Their size and the way they can post up, the way they can score, and their size defensively and offensively.
The numbers are in FSU's favor. The Seminoles have won their past 3 NCAA tournament openers. And that's what's in store for this weekend.